Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of In Conversation by Advisorkhoj. Today in conversation, our guest is Mr. Sachin Relekar, Fund Manager, Equity with Axis Mutual Fund. Sachin, welcome to In Conversation by Advisorkhoj.
Thank you. And thank you for having me here. Thank you very much.
Always our pleasure. So, Sachin, before we move forward in our conversation, I've got some very, very interesting questions to ask you and I learn a lot from you today. Could you take our viewers, through your investment management journey and your professional experience?
Yeah, sure. I've been in the asset management side for quite long years now. It started with 2007 at Tata Mutual Fund. Then I worked there for 5 years as an analyst. Thereafter, I moved to LIC Mutual Fund, worked as a fund manager, and also headed the team for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then I worked with IDFC now, which is a Bandhan Asset Management, for
Yeah.
about 3+ years.
Yeah.
And for more than a one and a half year, I'm with Axis Mutual Fund. So that's on a asset management side, brief journey. I'm an MBA from Bajaj, and I'm an engineer, mechanical engineer.
So primarily, most of the experience has been on the buy side.
Yes, yeah, all along, almost all of it. Yes.
So how you found this journey? Because the buy side and the sell side has dramatically changed over the years of experience.
Buy side itself has changed a lot. I mean, sell side, of course, but buy side also has. It's like my formative years as an analyst with Tata Mutual Fund versus today, the investment environment has changed a lot. Not only it has broadened, deepened, and
Hmm.
a lot, but at the same time, I think the involvement of retail investors have gone through a
Hmm.
substantial change, substantial as in big change. With
Yeah.
a lot of different type of involvement of the foreign institutional investors. So the complexity or the complexion of the domestic institutional investing plus foreign institutional investing and the retail participation, all those things have changed. The companies which we interact and the number of companies which we interact nowadays
Hmm.
versus what it was maybe a decade ago has changed
Right.
a lot. And one constant feature throughout my career which has gone up is the volatility.
Hmm.
All along, the volatility has improved. But I
Hmm.
think that is the new world which we are living in.
Hmm.
And I think that is something will continue. But what has not changed is the tenets of the long-term investing. I think we still,
So true.
so
Hmm.
if you take a slightly longer term view of the things, then I think the fundamentally good things do well, tend to do
Hmm.
well, and the patience does get rewarded. And I think those things are which are age old and good old practices of investing. I think that is the core. I mean, that has changed. In fact, it has got reinforced more throughout this entire journey. So
Right.
I think that is the major thing.
Hmm. Perfect. So I believe Axis Mutual Fund is launching their Axis Services Opportunities Fund new fund offer
Mm-hmm.
the 4th of July 2025 and closing on the 18th of July 2025. So मैं आपसे क्या पूछना चाह रहा था कि what is the relevance of this word called services for you?
Yeah, sure.
And how much do you believe is it, how important is it, in growth across?
Sure. So if you look at the salience of services in everybody's life, okay, you may be a consumer, business, or an institution, or government, or any entity which is economically a stake or a stakeholder in the economy. I think you are touched by services across. I mean,
Hmm.
but just from an individual point of view, because we are talking about investors also here. If you see, I mean, the whole the life or the entire environment is surrounded by the services, and we are spending and consuming more of services than just the goods, or even the goods or the manufactured goods or the agri goods what we're consuming are also having a big element of services. So right from grocery delivery to media consumption to the news consumption to financial services,
Hmm.
insurance, travel, hospitality, healthcare, everywhere as the per capita or the income levels have started improving, the service element in everybody's life has actually just gone up. The intensity or the usage has gone up, and this has been the case for across the world wherever the economies have developed, or from developing they have went to developed stage. I think the services component or the salience of services in the economy in the individual's life, in the institution's life, or in the business environment. Everywhere it has gone up. So that is what services is, and that's why it is important to focus on this as an aspect as to how it can be addressed and looked at from a investment point of view. I think that
Sure.
is where we thought about, and this is more structural in nature. It is not about just having a specific policies which are having impetus towards that, but overall economic development will lead to more importance and more
Mm,
salience and more say of
mm.
services in the economic life.
Sure, sure, sure. So your new fund offer, Access Services Opportunities Fund, being launched on July 4th, 2025. Could you tell us about this fund a bit more? Key, what will be the fundamentals? Will it be market cap, sectoral style? Will it be more agnostic in that way? What's going to be the style of management? Will it be more flexi, or will you be more rigid with certain sectors, etc.?
It
And
will
how
be
many
a service.
stocks do you,
Sure,
uh, you
sure.
know,
So it's
plan
a
to probably hold?
thematic. It's a thematic. So one differentiation which I would like to emphasize is it's a thematic, but it's not
Mm,
narrow thematic. I mean, when we looked at this addressable part of from the services opportunities fund,
mm,
it covers almost more than 200 names. Okay, which is
mm,
very
mm,
large of the basic 500 only I'm talking about. Of course, there will be smaller companies also which will be part of this thing, but overall it's a very large addressable universe which is there. So first of all, narrowness is not there, it's a broad theme, and I also elaborated like how it is important from how it becomes more and more important derivative of the overall economic development.
mm,
So the salience of that is just going to keep on increasing only. So the thematic as of now itself is broad enough, and I think it will keep on broadening. So those are the two aspects in terms of the deployment of the fund or how we're going to manage, because it's more than 200 names. We need not have to be market cap oriented per se. I mean, we
yes.
will be flexi cap in approach. It will have quite a meaningful active bias compared to the benchmark. So all those aspects will be there. In terms of the style, in terms of the approach, we will focus on quality and growth of the individual businesses. We will focus more from the bottom up point of view in investing, and therefore there will be individual names might have a disproportionately higher weight or lower weight compared to their
Mm,
benchmark. So that's the way the fund will get composed, and that is how the approach is going to be. Top down, there need not be any top down in this case, because as I said, it is a derivative of overall how the economic development is going to play out, and therefore there are inherent structural drivers for this. And moreover, if we looked at closely also, the quality of companies reflected in their financial metrics, etc., is quite healthy. So inherent universe of selection which is available itself is
mm.
of a very good quality.
Sure. So the style of management will be more flexi,
Yes.
and one could assume approximately about 65 to 70 stocks in this thematic fund.
We will be a little tighter on that,
Acha.
which is quite possible. But as of now, we are not, crystallized the model portfolio right
Right,
now. But
right.
we generally, for all thematics, etc., we have this model portfolio approach. So if you see my other funds like Flexi, etc., there also the mandates are very, neatly managed. It's like not a
Right.
very long tail portfolios I don't have. So I think over here also perhaps will not have very long tail portfolios, but we are okay to buy smaller companies, and smaller companies in a larger fund will have a smaller portion. So that's okay. I mean, we can have certain situations, but we will look at allocating quite with a prudence over there.
And what will be your typical suggestion for an investor to be invested in this fund for?
So this is, I think, to me, this is a long-term theme for sure. As I said, a lot of these things which I elaborated about healthcare, hospitality, and so many other stuffs or services per se, financial services, apart from lending, whatever we are consuming, the delivery services, etc. All those services which are there. I'll just highlight why two factors which are driving this entire thing, and then I think that will emphasize the structural element of it also.
Mm,
uh, Entire value creation in services, and to that extent to the listed universe by and large, is also driven by technology, one, and second is the formalization. These two
Mm,
trends are very, very dominant in especially in Indian listed space in terms of the value creation. And that has to do with the way the business landscape has been in the country. A lot of
mm,
unorganized. And as the economy became larger and started more formalizing, the organized players not only gained share, but the profitability also improved. It
mm,
also got aided by huge amount of technology penetration because technology in India is available, all this mobile telephony, etc. Not only it is of high quality, but it is also cheap. So it's become more affordable, and therefore the networking effect of this entire technology plays out very well. So I think if you see all the services you just elaborated are actually leveraging these two aspects quite a lot, especially the
right.
organized players. So not only the market or the addressable opportunity is getting expanded, but also the profit pool is also improving, the quality of businesses is getting improved, and the capital efficiency is actually going through quite a steady and gradual improvement which is there. So I think when I'm saying services, look at from the long term point of view, the drivers which I elaborated, technology and the formalization, they are very long term or a long way to go. Therefore, some of these factors will continue to support the thematic also from a medium to long term point of view.
Mm, mm, mm.
My advice to the investors is when they are looking at taking exposure into this, I think keep this aspect in their mind so that they can actually allocate and position themselves from a longer time point of view. And that's where the most of the benefits will come.
Sure, sure. So as we see right now, when we look at the overall exports for India,
Mm,
in FY25, we were at about $850 billion, out of which almost about 65 to 70% is the constitution of service exports. And the
mm,
balance is manufacturing exports. And particularly in service exports, we have a trade surplus. Correct. Now, with India being called as the factory of the world, you must have read that report about the US statistics cost of production, which India is the lowest, and we are trying to attract a lot of these, come and build here, etc. So from China plus one policy, I think it's tilting slowly, not very fast, into a direction where we're looking at India, first policy. So from that aspect, do you see this mix of services export changing since India is also trying to, get onto a step of $1 trillion of exports in this FI? What are your macro thoughts on that?
No, so I think there is a lot of emphasis on increasing the share of merchandise export in
Hmm,
overall global supply chain.
that's
We
true.
are we are a very large country in terms
Hmm,
of the percentage GDP, percentage population, etc. But our share of merchandise export is very, very low. We are
hmm,
17% of the world population. We are just
hmm.
about 1.7% of the merchandise
Exports.
trade flow anyway.
Hmm,
So
yeah.
which is very small. And so there is a realization and there is a lot of effort in that direction that it needs to be stepped up, and therefore you're seeing all these policies, incentives around semiconductor,
Yes.
electronic manufacturing system, defense indigenization, all those things. So
Very
I
true.
think those things will continue. There are no hesitations or question marks around that, and there are right incentives which are there. I mean, there are multilateral agreements, etc. also are there, and within that ambit, all these things are getting played out. You spoke about China plus one. I think the theme is very large. China, in terms of the merchandise manufacturing and export, is much, much larger compared to India.
Hmm, hmm,
And
hmm.
they're also competitive in certain areas where we cannot challenge that, or nobody
Absolutely.
else can challenge.
Hmm,
But there are opportunities where new things have been also created, and there is a policy push around that. So there are a lot of important wins around that, which we are continuing to happening. You are seeing all the mobile manufacturing actually getting shifted towards India, and there is
absolutely.
a lot of excitement and tailwinds around that. At the same time, services, if you see, you have a huge amount of R&D services which are not part of the listed, but still they are getting outsourced to India, and it's a very high-end services, by the way. It's not just about just because the cost of people over here or resource is slightly cheaper, but also the value add which is required from a
Hmm,
technology and
hmm,
the
hmm.
complexity point of view is also very, very demanding, and that's where India is playing that role. So it's a higher end level of the services also Indian companies, listed, unlisted, both are actually having a big play over there, and that will continue to grow because we have certain qualities which are unmatched. Like there is IP protection, there's knowledge, the all those things which are there. So as we go ahead, the integration with some of the global partners will actually improve, and therefore there will be more and more to more come will come into the play. At the same time, while this is looked at more from the external angle, the domestic salience of the services itself will keep on rising. For example, whether medical tourism would be considered as an export or a domestic, which is a matter of definition. But the fact is, because the medical services are of such a high quality and they are still affordable, you will see more and more population from the developed world actually
Mm.
coming to India and taking advantage of that and still get a very high quality healthcare. Okay.
Sure.
Those kind of things will also continue to have a big traction over here. So from export angle also, and even from the domestic angle, I think the outlook for the services is actually quite well aligned.
Sure, sure. No, no, I totally agree because I think while the overall export number increases,
Hmm.
I think there is a great momentum both for merchandise exports and service exports to move up.
Yeah,
And I think hence that's the place where a great opportunity lies again.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So my next question I'll combine into two uh, is that why should investors, mutual fund distributors, and advisors look at Access Services Opportunities Fund, new fund offer?
Wow.
Number one. Number two is uh, what message would you like to give to, again, investors, mutual fund distributors, advisors about your Access Services Opportunities Fund, NFO in particular?
Certainly. So now, so why to look at services? I elaborated about it, like
Yes.
what are the salience of it and what are the things which is going for. So, and we are basically focused on those two structural trends which are reflected, which is technology and formalization. And I think those get very pronounced effect in the services per se. And therefore, I think investors should take a note of it and should look at it. And this is a broader thematic, unlike some of the thematics which are very narrow.
Correct.
We thought about doing it actively because it's a broad thematic and there is a scope for active management. And I think our thought process and the way of investing about bottoms up and quality approach, it's something which most of the access funds are known for. And I think that completely, makes very lot of makes sense towards the services and opportunity, because it's here you will like to position for the long term point of view. You would like to position in quality buckets, and you would like to take advantage of companies which are bringing in these technology aspects or the formulation aspect into the play. I think all those things are actually very well aligned to how we look at companies. In fact, certain other mandates which I manage, which are broader, which are more diversified in nature, more broad in nature, over there also the salience of the services is quite meaningful. The flexi caps and focus fund, which are actually having a BSc 500 as a mandate.
Mm.
There also the percentage of allocation which has gone into services is quite meaningfully high, and that's where we believe, anyways, our mindset and alignment is over there. And I think therefore, having it deploying through services opportunities fund, which is more focused approach toward the services, will
Mm.
also have a bigger impact coming through. And that's why I think we are suggesting that look at services, then look at access services fund, because you are not only getting a right thing but also getting a right approach towards that. So that's that actually the confluence of the two things is what is compelling us. In terms of my advice to the investor, as I said in the beginning also, it's a long term theme.
Mm.
It has structural drivers behind it, and it is not only about top down dependency or one kind of a policy approach which is there, but it is more structural in nature. The quality of businesses which are there involved in the services are quite high.
Sure.
And at the same time, the scalability of the business is quite large. The opportunity set or the addressable opportunity set still lying ahead is meaningfully higher. And these are all things which are ingredients or makes up for a good investment case from a
Mm.
mid to long term point of view.
Sure, sure, sure. Thanks very much for that, Sachin. So, well, for our viewers, this is Mr. Sachin Relekar, Fund Manager Equity with Access Mutual Fund, deep diving into their new fund offer, Access Services Opportunities Fund, new fund offer opening on 4th of July 2025 and closing on 18th of July 2025. Well, Sachin, thank you very much for taking us through this fund, and why a sector fund is very, very relevant in our current market situations, and of course for the longer term investment solutions as well. Thank you, Sachin, for your time, and wish you the very best for this new fund offer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.